less than 5 seconds. Championship drag racing from the NHRA. Back in 1969, the Gatornationals at Gainesville Raceway in Florida, which is the 4th stop on the 19-event, $18 million NHRA Winston Championship Drag Racing Tour, opened its doors for the very first time. In the 21 years since then, the Gatornationals has become drag racing's largest event on the eastern seaboard of the United States. The attraction of the Florida sunshine in March, plus the spectacular action of the best in drag racing, proves irresistible to race fans from across the country, as in 1990, the Motorcraft Gatornationals is hosting over 107,000 spectators during the 5-day run of the event, as well as over 600 race cars from the United States, Canada, and Europe. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gainesville Raceway in the magnificent sunshine of Florida. I'm Dave McClellan, and you know, all these racing fans from the southeastern part of the country like all kinds of drag racing, but they especially love the full-bodied cars, those factory hot rods, the Pro Stocks. For more on that, here's my good buddy, Steve Evans.
You are so right, Dave. They do indeed love Pro Stocks in this part of the world. And no one driver has any more fans than Bob Glidden when he steps aboard his Ford Probe. And here at Gainesville, he needs the fan support. He needs all the help he can get. He has enjoyed less success here than any other national event track. I'll let the frustrated Bob Glidden tell you about it himself.
If we had to race here every weekend, Steve, I think I'd find another profession.
It's not the racetrack, obviously.
No. Other cars get down the racetrack. For whatever reason, we simply never have the right combination to make things work at Gainesville.
But so far, so good today for family Glidden. They survived round number 1 of Pro Stock competition earlier. I'm headed down to the other end to interview the winners, and Glidden hopes that he and I talk 3 more times. He'd be the Gators champ. Excuse me, folks.
Steve, while you're getting yourself set at the far end of Gainesville Raceway, we're getting ready for round number 2 of Pro Stock Racing. It is an Oldsmobile Pontiac battle here in the second round, as Larry Morgan is in the far lane of the racetrack in the Castrol GTX Special. The Pontiac Trans Am, driven by Ricky Smith out of King, North Carolina. Both drivers go into their burnout procedures at identically the same time, just part of the crowd appeal of these 500 cubic inch, 180 mile an hour plus race cars. When the drivers hit the racetrack on Wednesday of this week, they were greeted with an all-new racing service, and they've adapted to it very well. Ricky Smith qualified 13th, defeated a red-lighting Mark Howick in the first round, while Larry Morgan qualified 5th with a 7:32. He also won by virtue of a red light. His first round opponent, Gordy Rivera, left the starting line too soon. Now Morgan in the far lane and Smith in the near lane pull up into the staging beams at the starting line, getting ready to battle against that Christmas tree to see who can leave the starting line first. Smith stages last, and Ricky Smith has got the advantage. A very slight advantage at the start for Smith, but a big difference in elapsed times. 7.40 for Ricky Smith, a 7:47 for Larry Morgan. Back at the starting line, this is the Chevy Beretta, driven by Bruce Allen, prepared by the team of Rare and Morrison out of Arlington, Texas. His competition in an Oldsmobile is Scott Jeffreyon, driving the car owned by Ron Gross. Steve?
You're looking at a man who has been living on tricky starting line reactions to win races. Not this time. You leveled him with performance at 740.
Well, we just made a pretty decent run. You know, it's hot out here, and we're trying to be conservative in the middle of the track, but so far we're still winning.
Why the middle of the track?
Well, it's just heat on it, you know, and the asphalt starts to bleed, you know, oil out of it, and it's just a little slick.
Great job.
Thank you.
Ricky Smith now in the semifinals of this Gatornationals Championship. Scott Jeffreyon gets set to challenge the Super Shock Beretta of Bruce Allen. Jeffreyon out of Huntington Beach, California, qualified 11th with a 7:38, beat Jerry Haas in the first round. Allen qualified 3rd with a great 7:32. He defeated Joe Lapone Jr. in round number 1. The winner here advances to the Final 4 of Pro Stock. Allen gets out close to the guardrail. He has to lift. And Jeffrion goes into the semifinals. His time, a 7:36, 186 miles an hour. The 1990 NHRA Motorcraft Gatornationals is being brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Quaker State. The Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil. More Pro Stock action coming your way in just a moment. Pit area, Eddie Hill's crew hard at work getting the car ready for his second round race with Kenny Koretsky. That'll be coming up in just a few moments. Right now, let's go to the far end. Steve Evans with Scott Jeffrion.
With the long hair under the helmet, it could only be Scott Jeffrion. And Scott Jeffrion is so happy, he's having a hard time getting the helmet off. And happy he should be. A 736, Scott, a beauty.
Thank you. All I can say is I got the best car owner in the world, Ron Gross, and I got a lot of good help. Warren Johnson, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
But you were fighting that yellow car that everybody dreads to race.
Oh, yeah, but as long as you don't get intimidated by the guy in the other lane, it doesn't mean anything. You just got to run your own race, and you'll be all right.
See you in the semis.
Thank you very much.
Scott Jeffrion spelling it out for everybody. Don't be intimidated by the guy in the other lane. And here is the master of intimidation. This is Bob Glidden, the reigning Winston champion, at the wheel of the Motorcraft Ford Probe. You're riding on board with Bob as he goes through his burnout procedure. His competition, the only Buick in the race today, Buddy Ingersoll. Ingersoll qualified in the 16th spot. That means in round number 1, he raced the number 1 qualifier, Jerry Ekman. Ekman in the Pennzoil Pontiac wasted the low elapsed time of the meet thus far when he left the starting line a train length behind Buddy Ingersoll. Ekman's time on this run, a 7:27. Ingersoll, a 7:37. And Ekman still lost the race. That puts Ingersoll into round number 2 against Bob Glidden, the number 8 qualifier. Glidden set a time of 7.35 seconds in qualifying and defeated Morris Johnson Jr. in the first round. Ingersoll in the Buick in the far lane. Glidden in the Ford in the near lane. Both of them powered by 500 cubic inches. Let's ride with Bob. And across the finish line, a half a car length ahead of Ingersoll. Glidden a 7:36. Ingersoll a 7:36. The difference at the starting line, 0.04 of a second advantage, went to Bob Glidden. Let's look again in replay, and you can see the Ford in the near lane move first. And as Glidden told us earlier, he needs every break he can get to beat these guys. Beat Ingersoll, he did, with an identical elapsed time and a better reaction at the start. Glidden now into the semifinals here at the Gatornationals. Let's go to the far end and Steve.
Well, Robert, with your nice hole shot, you probably couldn't enjoy how close the performances were. You both ran 7:36.
Well, I knew we were off a little bit that run, Steve. I saw Bruce in front of me have a little bit of violent shake, so you know, I changed the driving a little bit just trying to get down the racetrack. But if we went 36, that's not too bad.
Ricky Smith says the track is tricky out a ways, almost to the middle.
This track is tricky from the water box on. We're having a heck of a time.
Ooh, but he's starting to get a handle on it.
And Steve, when Bob Glidden gets a handle on it, that's what scares the other racers to death. Here's Kenny Delco in the Paul Rebefke Construction Company Pontiac Grand Prix. His competition, WJ Warren Johnson at the wheel of the AC Delco Oldsmobile. Johnson qualified in the number 2 spot with a 7:30, then beat the Norwegian, one of our European drivers, Per Christian Skene, in the first round. Kenny Delco ended up in the number 7 spot in qualifying with a 7:34. He beat Jim Yates in round number 1, but Delco was also the number 1 qualifier for a period of time in the preliminary days of this event. Both drivers staging oh so carefully. Delco has the lane choice by virtue of a quicker elapsed time in round number 1. Let's see if he can get down that tricky lane. And it's WJ shutting it down. Kenny Delco, 7.30 His speed over 188 miles an hour, that moves him right into the semifinals. The pairings find Kenny Delco against Scott Jeffrey on, with Delco having the lane choice. The other pair in the semis, Ricky Smith against Bob Glidden. Glidden having the lane choice with the Ford. Steve?
Boy, Kenny Delco, what a beautiful afternoon, and I don't mean the weather.
Oh yeah, it's been real good. We had some problems over the weekend. We came out here and qualified number 1 the first session, and we had problems with misfiring. And I think we cleared it up. Things been running real good.
You know, so often you've gone to the starting line knowing you had to take a hole shot. The other guy was quicker. You're putting that pressure on them today.
Well, I like to think that. I tell you, we had a real good weekend. The boss was out here, Paul Rabeshi, driving one of the other cars, but he came out late and only had 1 or 2 sessions, so he didn't really get a chance to get in there with us, but
we hope it continues for you.
I hope I can do it for him.
Kenny Delco headed to the semifinals in Pro Stock. Top Fuel action coming up next. Back at Gainesville Raceway in the Motorcraft Gatornationals, it's time for Top Fuel. 4,000 horsepower apiece. That was Kenny Koretsky. Here's Eddie Hill. At the age of 54, Hill is certainly a veteran of this quarter-mile sport. His competition, Koretsky, is in his rookie year as a Top Fuel driver. Hill qualified in the 14th spot with a 5:21. That earned him the right to race the number 3 qualifier, Joe Amato, the winner at Phoenix, who had qualified with a 5:06. That first round race between Hill in the far lane and Amato in the near lane was a throwback to the late 60s, with both drivers smoking the tires violently. Amato tried to recover but failed. Hill was successful. After the race, Steve had a chance to talk with Joe Amato.
It's an unknown thing because the temperature was 85 all week and had a little cloud cover. Now I've got a clear sun on the track.
Better air.
And better air. So you have to basically detune the cars a little bit to get down the track. And, you know, it just, sometimes you're right on that edge. You know, you don't want to detune them enough to lose. You don't want to have too much.
Well, you crossed the edge, unfortunately.
Well, we're right over the edge and we smoked the tires. What are you going to do?
The win by Hill brought him to round number 2, where he now faces Kenny Koretsky. Koretsky qualified 11th with a 5:19. He was victorious over Mike Brotherton in round number 1. Hill in the far lane, not smoking the tires, going a fine 5:11 at 272 miles an hour. His crew chief, Fuzzy Carter, figured it out between the first and second round, and that's a great time for Hill, 5:11. This is the super sleek 300-inch wheelbase car of Chris Karamessinis, a name that is legendary in this sport of drag racing. Here in round 2, he is racing against Dick LaHaye. The winner at the Super Nationals in Houston, LaHaye at the wheel of the Miller High Life Special, is the early season leader in the Winston points chase for a bonus payment of $150,000 at the end of the season. Karamessinis, at the age of 62, is enjoying as successful an outing as he has had in many a year. Acquiring the talents of tuner Dave Settles, Karamessinis qualified 12th with a 5:19. That earned him the right to race Kenny Bernstein in round number 1 here at the Gatornationals. The Bud King was in the near lane of the track. He had earned that spot, that choice, by virtue of the quicker qualifying time of a 5:08. We rode with Kenny. Both drivers smoked the tires. Then Kenny blew it apart, and Karamessinis thundered past for the win. Bernstein had a slight fire. Steve had a chance to talk to him about it.
The big hole in the side of Kenny Bernstein's engine proves conclusively you cannot control these Top Fuel racers with the throttle. But what else are you going to do, Kenny?
Well, you know, you got your hands full. It left good, but then it shook hard, and it blew the tires loose, and you look over and you don't see your competitor anywhere. And old days, we used to just back off the throttle and go back on them and keep on after it until we got to the finish line. But with the fuel systems today, it's putting so much fuel in there, it lights one when it shouldn't, and it just blows the side out.
The win by Karamessinis matches him against Dick LaHaye, who moved from a number 4 qualifying spot using a hole shot, a starting line advantage, to defeat a quicker Tommy Johnson Jr. in round number 1. The perfect reaction time to the Christmas tree is .400. When drivers talk about their reaction time, in the 5.1s or 5.2s, you know that they're more than 1/10 of a second off of perfect. Karamazini's in the strange engineering special in the far lane. Dick LaHaye in the near lane. A tremendous race, and again, Dick LaHaye's driving ability wins this match. 5:14 is elapsed time. Karamazini's had a quicker one, 5:13. Both of them over 268 miles an hour. As we watch again, you can see a very slight advantage by the Miller High Life car in the near lane. Karamazini's is now having to play catch-up, and that's tough to do when your racetrack is only 1/4 of a mile long. LaHaye and Karamazini's nearly side by side as they hit the finish line. It's LaHaye.
We've heard Dick LaHaye many times stress teamwork, and that's what's working for him today. Daughter Kim, his crew chief, is giving him the power, and he is returning the favor with great driving. Another hole shot. York 5:14 defeats Chris's 5:13.
Unreal. Well, I'll tell you what, there was a lot of prayers said this morning by me about my reaction times, because all during the qualifying, I was going 5:40s, 5:30s, doing this and doing that. And I mean, it was just terrible. And I kept thinking, what's wrong? And Kim said, just go out and drive your race. Obviously, things are working out, and she's doing the tuning on the thing.
Indeed, just a great run.
Thank you, Steve.
Not to mention, of course, the driving ability of this pro.
Dick LaHaye goes to the semifinals. Back in the Pro Stock pit area, that's Melissa Glidden packing the parachute, Billy's wife. That's Bob's wife, Etta. She's the crew chief on the Ford probe, getting it ready for the race against the Pontiac and Ricky Smith, coming up later at the Gatornationals. We're at Gainesville Raceway, Gainesville, Florida, in the 21st annual Motorcraft Gatornationals. We're in round number 2 of Top Fuel Racing, and this is the reigning Winston champion, Gary Ormsby, at the wheel of the Castrol Special. Next to him, 24 years old, out of Corpus Christi, Texas, Lori Johns, the winner of the Winter Nationals. She qualified second at a 4.99, beat Jim Head in round number 1. Ormsby was the number 10 qualifier with a 5:14. He defeated Frank Bradley in his first round race. Lori's 4.99 in qualifying, continuing the effort she put forth. She had four second times consecutively at Houston in that Jolly Rancher Special. She's up in smoke this time, and the blower belt comes off, and Gary Ormsby goes through with a win. A great time, 5.06 seconds. His speed over 280 miles an hour. Lori's problem setting in just after she got off the starting line pad. Just as they passed the Christmas tree, Lori's car went up in smoke, and then the supercharger drive belt came off, and the supercharger itself backfired. You're looking into the eyes of the number 1 qualifier, Darrell Gwynn. His time, a 4.98 second blast. Gwynn has been most successful in adapting to the new rules, which one of them this year requires a spec rear gear. That's right, all cars in Top Fuel and Funny Car must run a gear numerically no lower than a 320. Let's go to the far end of the track. Steve's with the Winston champion.
Gary Ormsby, the first driver to put together really strong back-to-back runs today. 5:03 round 1, 5:06 round 2.
Felt good, Steve. We didn't do much to it because we thought the track would be a little bit lesser than it was the first round, and we kind of left it alone, and it looked like it worked out for us.
It's been quite a challenge for you and your crew chief Lieber to get used to this 320 gear, because you existed on raw power before.
Oh, there's no question about it. We're trying to get some consistency. We just changed this weekend, whole new clutch system, and from what we run the previous 3 races, it's working out for us now, though.
It certainly appears to.
Ormsby back to the pits. He'll be getting ready for round number 3, the semifinals. While on the starting line, the final pair here in round number 2. In the far lane, it is the Skoal Bandit. This is Don Prudhomme making the switch this year from Funny Car to Top Fuel Dragster. Prudhomme qualified 9th with a 5:14, beat Gene Snow in the first round, while Gwynn, the number 1 qualifier in the Coors Extra Gold Special, beat Richard Holcomb in his first round race. As the 2 drivers, Prudhomme in the far lane, Gwynn in the near lane, approach the starting line, keep your eye on the top of the tree. The first bulb at the top is a pre-stage light. Darrell Gwynn, as of late, has been rolling through that beam, shortening his racetrack by about 6 inches, and he did it again. He deep stage. That could reduce his reaction time. A big win for Gwynn, 5.12. His elapsed time is speed 276. But here's the kicker. Reaction time for Gwynn, .432, 400ths of a second ahead of Don Prudhomme. That sets up the semifinals at the Gatornationals. It'll be Darrell Gwynn against Dick LaHaye, with Gwynn having the choice of lanes. The other pair finds the Winston champ, Gary Ormsby, against Eddie Hill. Ormsby selecting the lane. Funny car action coming up next at the Gatornationals. We're back in Gainesville, Florida, and you know, at the end of this race, we're going to be announcing the Goodyear Eagle Driver of the Race Award. Goodyear will be giving a $1,000 check to SEMA, the scholarship fund of the Specialty Equipment Market Association, in that driver's name. Before we get to the semifinal round of Funny Car, there was a scary incident in round one. Jim White in the Hawaiian Bunch Dodge in the near lane had the left rear tire cut down just off the starting line. This caused the tire to come apart, and as it did, it took out the entire left rear quarter of the car. Let's watch again. White in the near lane. The damage to the race car, severe. His competition, Glenn Micras, smoked the tires, but he headed to the finish line the winner, while White was fighting that Dodge, trying to keep it upright and off the guardrail. A brilliant driving job by White, preventing further damage to the Dodge Daytona. After the incident, Steve had a chance to talk with him.
What do you think happened?
I don't know. We'll just get it over and get the Goodyear guys to take a look at it. They do an excellent job, too. We can't complain about the product they give us.
Absolutely.
What a disappointment for Jim White. The #1 qualifier out with severe body damage in the first round of racing. Here in the semifinals, this is Casey Spurlock. And riding along with John Force in the Castrol Oldsmobile, the cockpit filling up with smoke as he completes his long initial burnout. Force qualified in the #2 spot with a 5:30, beat Scott Coletta in his first round race. In round #2, he raced Jerry Caminito from Brooklyn, New York, who was the #7 qualifier with a 5:47. Our onboard camera was along for the ride as Force and Caminito had nearly identical reaction time. But the win went to Force with an elapsed time of 5.55 seconds. His speed, 257 miles an hour. That advances him to the semis, where he is matched against Casey Spurlock, the #5 qualifier. In his second round race, the competition, Jim Dunn out of Long Beach, California, the #6 qualifier with a 5:46. A great 5:39 in his first round victory over Rune Tild, the Norwegian, gave Spurlock the lane choice. Dunn had problems. Spurlock went on to another 5:39 at 268 miles an hour to move to the semifinals, where now it is John Force and Casey Spurlock squaring off in Gainesville. The lane choice going to Spurlock. He has selected the lane nearest the camera. Again, we're riding with John Force. Both hands on the wheel as he leaves the starting line. Up in smoke goes Force. And Spurlock with a 5:51. 259 miles an hour, goes to the finals for the second time this season. As we look at this race again, you see John Force in the far lane of the racetrack. He had deep staged in an effort to gain an advantage at the start, but it did not pay off, as Spurlock was 300ths of a second quicker, and then Force lost traction, went up in smoke, and the victory went to Spurlock. The remaining 2 cars in the semifinal round is a rematch of last year's final here at the Gatornationals. It's Ed McCulloch against Bruce Larson. Let's go to the far end and Steve.
You know, Casey, I think your earlier 5:35 kind of forced the John Force team to hop it up, and they blew the tires off it.
Our car, it felt like it ran well. It got really, really loose out there mid-track, and I had to drive it around quite a bit. I could see John go by me pretty quick in the left side window, though, so I thought he had a problem, but the crew did a really good job. Now we need to go get ready for the final.
3 down and 1 to go.
Thank you, Steve.
KC Hollywood Spurlock headed to the finals. He'll race one of these two drivers in the near lane with the choice. Is Bruce Larson at the wheel of the Sentry Tack Engages car. Larson qualified 8th with a 5:48. Beat Richard Hartman in round 1. In round number 2, he raced Glenn Micris at the wheel of Joe Pisano's car, the number 16 qualifier, and you saw him take advantage of the misfortune of Jim White in the first round. It was a good race in round number 2. Micris gave Larson all he could handle. Larson's 5:28 was low ET of eliminations at that point, and that round win moves him to the semifinals, where from his number 5 qualifying spot of a 5:41 and defeating Johnny West in round 1, he raced Mark Oswald in the second round. Oswald at the wheel of the Motorcraft Ford Probe and qualified number 4 and beat Frank Kramberger in the first round of competition. But in round number 2, it was trouble for Oswald, loss of traction, and the victory to McCulloch. His elapsed time 5:35 at 265 miles an hour. McCulloch's second round time, good as it was, could not come close to matching the 5:28 by Larson. Thus, we find his Oldsmobile here in the lane nearest the camera, the lane of choice thus far this day. And up in smoke goes Larson, almost out of control. And across the finish line, the victor and into the finals of the Gatornationals for the second year in a row, Ed McCulloch with a 5:44. That sets up a rematch of the finals of the Winter Nationals this year. Casey Spurlock against Ed McCulloch. McCulloch with the lane choice. Right now, Steve Evans is at the far end of the track, standing by with Ed McCulloch.
A year ago at this very race, Ed McCulloch defeated Bruce Larson in the final. Actually, Larson gave it away crossing the center line. Not this time, Ace. You just pummeled him.
Well, you know, it wasn't a great run. Went out there and got tire loose and had to pedal up, but he wasn't there, so we got on through there.
You got it down in the 540s, and that's enough for lane choice. How important is that going to be against young Spurlock?
Well, I don't think, you know, it's going to, the later it gets, the better the racetrack's going to get. So I don't think lane choice in the last round is really going to be a factor unless something happens in front of us.
You know, you're the oldest of the touring funny car drivers from years ago, and he's the brand new kid on the block. That's quite a contrast.
Well, you know, we raced at the Winter Nationals in the finals, so I'm looking forward to this round. You know, I hope the outcome's a little different than last time.
Spurlock's looking forward to it, too.
Ed McCulloch and Casey Spurlock. That's the final pair in Funny Car Eliminator. Meanwhile, in the top fuel pit area, they're readying Darrell Gwynn's car for its race against Dick LaHaye in the semifinals. That'll be later at the Gatornationals. Pro Stock coming up next. Dave McClellan along with Steve Evans, and we're looking in on Casey Spurlock's pit area. The crew getting the car ready. Spurlock talking over his driving strategy for the final round race against Ed McCulloch. On the starting line, Rusty Glidden playing traffic cop for the Glidden family's operation. That's the Ford Probe, his dad Bob at the wheel. Looking out the front window, that's his other son Billy, directing traffic at that end of the race car. Opposite him on the racetrack is the STP Pontiac of Ricky Smith. Smith doing an outstanding job getting this far in competition with a brand new Trans Am. Here in this semifinal race, Glidden has the choice of lanes. In the lane nearest the camera, we find the Ford. This is one of those side-by-side battles that the crowd just loves. General Motors and Pontiac Trans Am against Ford and the Probe of Bob Glidden. A great start for Ricky Smith. Out the left-hand window, you can see Smith take the victory and move to his first ever NHRA final round appearance. 7.38 seconds, his speed 187 miles an hour. As we look again, there you see the advantage that Ricky Smith gained over Bob Glidden. It was in this same round a year ago that Bob Glidden fell to the eventual winner, Darrell Alderman. Now it is Ricky Smith's turn. as he defeated Glidden in this semifinal round of competition. It was a full car length at the finish line. Smith, the victor.
Well, blame it on Gainesville Raceway or blame it on Ricky Smith, but Bob Glidden is out of here.
I'm telling you, I love it, Steve. It don't get no better than this. I just, you know, me and Bob's been competitors for years, and I'm just glad to finally beat him.
You know, you had him off the line, and you out-ET'd him as well, a 38 to a 39.
He must have had a little problem, you know. I know he's got some power, but
His problem was this man in the red fire suit.
I'm just glad we won. He's a good competitor.
You bet he is. Nobody can take that away from him. Ricky Smith to the finals.
Smith, a close friend of the Petty Racing family. That's evidenced by the paint scheme on that car. Here now comes Kenny Delco at the wheel of the Pontiac Grand Prix. This the only Grand Prix body style in the 16-car Pro Stock field here at the Gatornationals. His competition, the Oldsmobile, owned by Ron Gross and driven by Scott Joffrion. Delco, with the lane choice, has put Joffrion over there in the lane furthest from the camera. That's where Ricky Smith just won his race and moved into the finals. The crowd on its feet, all eyes on the starting line. And it's a red light start for Joffrion. Delco's in the finals. Delco at 7.40 seconds, 189 miles an hour. Lots of speed out of that Pontiac, but top speed seldom wins drag races. It's E.T. and Kenny Delco fell off nearly a tenth. Scott Joffrion tried to put a hole shot on him. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. The red light puts Delco into the finals against Ricky Smith, with Ricky having the choice of lanes. Steve?
All right, Kenny Delco goes into the final against Ricky Smith, but you may be scratching your head a bit because you lost a tenth somewhere. Went from a 30 to a 40.
Shook unbelievable.
At least you know where it is.
Yeah, we just let go of the clutch and it just pulled second and shook crazy.
Can you adjust the clutch? Something to do to get rid of that?
And we've been pretty lucky getting this thing down the track on lousy things. We should have, when I saw Glidden go slow, we should have pulled over.
Changed your place on the line, you mean?
No, I should have taken the other lane.
Oh, okay.
But guess it was my mistake.
Well, your opponent in the final, Ricky Smith, is going to tell you which lane you're in because you lost that.
What are you going to do? I just hope I can outpower him then.
All right, we'll be looking forward to a great Pro Stock final with a little different color to it.
Steve, a pair of blue Pontiacs with a splash of day-glow orange thrown in for good measure. Scratching his head back in the pits is Ed McCulloch as he looks on. The crew getting his car ready. He's racing Casey Spurlock in the finals of Funny Car coming up shortly. Raceway and the Motorcraft Gatornationals. You're looking on as Darrell Gwynn backed up after his long smoky burnout, getting those tires just as hot as possible. Gwynn, the quickest car in the country, in fact in the world right now, 4.90, the national record holder. His competition here in the semifinals is Dick LaHaye. The thing to note here, watch Gwynn particularly in the round before. He used the deep staging technique to his advantage to quicken his reaction time. The downside to deep staging is that it shortens the racetrack. Your elapsed time may not be quite as good as it would have been had you just tickled that very edge of the staging beam and had a longer racing surface to take a shot at. As both engines pour out huge amounts of unburned fuel, let's see, Gwynn stages deep again. And LaHaye up in smoke. Across the finish line, 5:02 at 280 miles an hour. His reaction time, 0.44. That's 400ths quicker than LaHaye. So it is Darrell Gwynn for the second year in a row. The defending champ goes into the final. His opponent will be the victor in this match. It is Gary Ormsby against Eddie Hill. Like a baseball player, Eddie Hill has been in a bit of a slump lately. A car that is capable of running a 493. He did that almost a year and a half ago. Lately, he's not been capable of getting much below a 520. Steve?
The crew on Darrell Gwynn's car did everything just right. They tightened up the clutch. They bumped up the magnetos, and they made enough power to run 5:02.280.
I'll tell you, 5:02,
Heat of the day, deep staging. I'm plenty happy with that. We made the right decision. I got to take my hats off to the entire gang. That was a very educated decision. Last year, going into the final, we changed everything, like I told you. But this year, I think we got a handle on things. We're just going to go run our own race.
I can't add a thing to that. See you in the finals.
Thank you.
A very confident young man, Darrell Gwynn, certainly a favorite of this Florida crowd. He hails from Miami. Ormsby in the near lane. Hill and his 5:11 in the previous round. That's the best time he's had in several races. Both drivers inching their way forward into that staging beam. Ormsby beginning to haze the tires, and Hill goes into the finals. This is a rematch of a year ago. Eddie Hill with a 5:12 at 274 will be racing Darrell Gwynn. Gwynn in his 5:02. That earns him the right to pick his lane. Meanwhile, in Pro Stock Eliminator, Kenny Delco does not have the luxury of lane choice. He has got to use sophisticated computerized technology to try to find the missing 1/10 of a second elapsed time. Now let's go down to the far end of the track. Steve's with Eddie Hill.
For the second year in a row here in Gainesville, Florida, when it's time for the Top Fuel final, color the starting line yellow. Eddie Hill and Darrell Gwynn 5:12.
Oh, I love it. What, we ran 5:12?
You betcha.
All right, what a heck of a deal. Darrell ran a, what, an 02?
He ran real good. He's going to have lane choice.
Well, yeah, he is, but he better not slack up. We might pull something out of that.
You know, even the crew down here for Darrell Gwynn cheered your victory there, but I think that has a lot to do with Winston points, not friendship.
Well, could be, but we're good friends, too. You know, they loaned me a car when I needed one, and he didn't just say, I'm praying for it. He loaned me a car, you know, so Darrell did good, and we respect him for it.
Get to work. Try to match wheels with him.
Oh, yeah, we need to pick up a tent. Let's go to work on it.
Tell Fuzzy.
All right, I will.
You can bet Buzzy Carter and Eddie Hill, they'll be looking at their computer in Ricky Smith's pit area. The final preparations of his Pontiac Trans Am, readying it for the final round against Kenny Delco at the Motorcraft Gatornationals. It's another beautiful Florida sunset here at Gainesville in the Motorcraft Gatornationals. Earlier, Steve had an opportunity to take a look behind the scenes.
There are many facets of the National Hot Rod Association its members can be very proud of, but there's one they'll never see unless they're an accredited member of the press, and that is the Media Center. And here in Gainesville, it's a very, very busy place coordinated by NHRA's Rick Lawler. And Rick, they're from all over the world in here.
They sure are. You know, the Gatornationals, one of the biggest events on the NHRA Winston drag racing circuit. And as a giant event on the circuit, it has attracted media, print, electronic, from all over the world.
And when the race is over and the fans are gone, you'll still be here.
We'll still be here. We won't finish up this event until Monday afternoon. Then we'll be back in Glendora getting ready for the next one on the circuit.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
And you, too, can be a proud member of NHRA simply by calling this number. You'll receive their publication, National Dragster, every week, and the rule book, and all the other benefits. And if you call right now, you'll receive free Diamond P's newest home video, Drag Racing 89. Do it right now.
On the starting line, it's the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator, an all Pontiac final round. This is Kenny Delco. He's driving the Grand Prix opposite him. In the brand new Pontiac Trans Am, that's Ricky Smith. The lane choice here went to Smith. And earlier, after his semifinal victory, Steve had a chance to talk to the first-time finalist.
If it wasn't for the name on the window and the number on the car, you look at the sponsor and the color scheme, and this could easily be Richard Petty's garage area at a Winston Cup race instead of Ricky Smith's at a drag race. Petty's been an idol of yours. This has got to be a thrill.
He has, Steve. You know, I've lived within an hour of Petty all my life, and he's just been one of my biggest idols, you know. And to put this deal together and be a teammate with Richard Petty is just a tremendous deal for me right now.
At one time, did you want to be a stock car racer?
Well, I don't know. You know, one time I think I did, but I'm glad I got in drag racing. Drag racing has been just tremendously good to me. I mean, I can't rave about how good it's been to me. So, you know, I'm glad of what I've done. I wouldn't change my mind.
If smiles could win races, Ricky Smith would have been a champion from the day he was born. Here he is on the starting line against Kenny Delco. This is only the second final round appearance for Delco. He's been trying for 3.5 years since he moved into Pro Stock to win one of these events. This is his best ride ever. As always, the starting line reaction time could be critical. It is nearly identical for both drivers. But look at Kenny Delco fly. 7:28. He found his 10th and a whole lot more. 189 miles an hour. Delco wins his first ever NHRA Winston National Event title. Great reaction times by both drivers. Just a couple of thousandths of a second separated them. As we look again, you can see how Delco pulled ahead by the 8-mile point and was pulling away steadily as he neared the finish line and took the championship in Pro Stock Eliminator. Steve?
Whoa. What a pleasure it is to meet a newcomer to the winner's circle.
Oh, thank you. I got to thank Paul Rebeschi, Bob Cave, Ronnie Caprasol, all the people that helped me, my wife, Kathy, and the 3 kids. Everybody what made me come here.
Tell me about the race. You left the line together.
I let go of the clutch. The thing stood up in the air. Didn't shake the tires when I pulled the second. I said, there's no way he's going to go by me.
7:28. No, I don't think so.
Beautiful. Hey, Ricky. Good race. How fast you go?
Good race.
Oh, boy.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. I'm glad it's one. I'm the newcomer that's going to win. I lost that one last year.
There'll be more to come for this man. The way he's running, you can bet on it. Kenny Delco, first time he's ever won an NHRA National Championship event.
Steve, in Kenny's excitement, he forgot it was 1988 that he almost won the Mid-South Nationals. Bruce Allen currently leading the NHRA Winston points chase. Second is Bob Glidden. Third, Delco. Fourth is Jerry Ekman. And in the number 5 slot after 4 events is W.J. Warren Johnson. On the starting pad, our funny cars getting ready. They'll race in just a moment. For the second year in a row, the gold and white Oldsmobile of Ed McCulloch out of Larry Minor Motorsports in the final round of the Motorcraft Quality Parts Gatornationals here at Gainesville Raceway. His competition this year, K.C. Spurlock in the far lane. And now's the opportunity for McCulloch to take revenge on Spurlock. It was the rookie coming out, the champion of the Winter Nationals, to kick off this 1990 season. Who was his victim? None other than Ed McCulloch. This time it's reversed. McCulloch wins 5:33 at 2:67. The losing time 5:40 at 2:73. It was McCulloch's race from the flash of the green light. One advantage of the gathering darkness, you can see the header flames, and here in replay, you saw McCulloch react first to the Christmas tree. He built a big lead over K.C. Spurlock, held it all the way down the quarter mile until at the finish line in the near lane, Ed McCulloch wins for the second year in a row.
1 year ago. Exactly. We talked to this same man, Ed McCulloch, but not quite the smile on his face then. You really earned this one.
Well, winning races is getting to the other end first on a good run. I don't know how good it was, but it was good enough to get there first. So.
What is it they say? Age and treachery will overcome youth and exuberance anytime.
We'll take it. What'd we run?
In 5:33.
Well, we'll take that. I don't know. It's just, you know, we got some new Goodyear tires on here, and I don't know. They're working good.
DDR, congratulations, Ace. And by the way, that'll move you up, I believe, to like second in the points.
Well, you know, we've been struggling a little bit. You know, we were raced KC. You know, those boys have been doing a fine job. They got us at the Winter Nationals, and, you know, we didn't do good at Phoenix. Houston went to third round. We struggled here coming in, but our old Miller Oldsmobile pulled through for us here at the end.
Boy, it sure did. What a great race.
Thank you, Steve.
Now there's a happy man, Ed McCulloch. Perseverance paying off. And as you noted, Steve, Ed has moved into second place in the Winston point standings, right behind Larson. Spurlock is third, John Force fourth, and Mark Oswald number 5. Now's the time for the celebration of Bernie Federley and his entire crew. They did a great job in preparing the car for Ed McCulloch. It is getting dark here at Gainesville Raceway. The lights are on, but rest assured that will not bother either of our finalists in Top Fuel. Eddie Hill in the far lane of the racetrack, Darrell Gwynn in the near lane. This is an exact rematch of the final round 1 year ago. One of the most dynamic members of Eddie Hill's crew is his wife, Ursi. Earlier, before this round, Steve talked with her.
During the past 16 months, we have seen the Eddie Hill crew thrashing this race car, getting ready for a final round, all 3 times to lose. In fact, in the past 16 months, this team out of Wichita Falls, Texas, hasn't won a race. But Ursi, you never lose. Your enthusiasm for the sport and your man.
Oh, I love my husband. This is exactly what he wants to do with his life, and I'm going to be right behind him. You bet.
What's your secret?
Love and dedication, love for the sport, love for each other, love for the team. We all work together real well. It's good. It's fun.
I'll tell you what, if you could bottle it, you could make a fortune.
Well, thanks. We have fun doing it. I mean, we're not out here making any fortune, so you might as well have some good times with it.
And good times, that's what Eddie Hill thrives on. Darrell Gwynn thrives on good times. He likes his all in the 4-second range. He's had 2 of them thus far this race, one in qualifying, another in the first round of racing. Now, the final of the Gatornationals. Eddie Hill and Darrell Gwynn. To the finish line first is Darrell Gwynn. His elapsed time, 5.01 at 2:79. Eddie Hill very close at a 5:08, 2:75. Gwynn just a hair sharper as we watch an instant replay at the starting line. His reaction time about 0.02 of a second quicker than Eddie Hill. But Hill gave Darrell all he could ask for until the last few hundred feet when Gwynn pulled ahead for the victory. At the far end, our champion and Steve Evans.
Back-to-back Motorcraft Quality Parts Gatornationals, your favorite race, and you've done it again.
You bet, Steve. I'll tell you, that race went over real quick. I remember, the last thing I remember is leaving the start line, and here I am in the winner's circle. I'll tell you, at nighttime racing, I'll tell you, it's a pleasure to be here in front of all you people, especially my hometown fans. I'm glad you all got to be here, and my sponsor, Coors and Kindle, Dodge, Mopar, thank you very much. I owe it to you. Most of all, I want to say one thing, that when I got started in racing, it was my friends that got me to where they're at, and every one of them are sitting in the grandstands here today, and I mean it.
No question about that. The biggest crowd all weekend long has been around the kid from Miami.
Well, Steve, maybe they knew something we didn't. Darrell Gwynn, champion for the 2nd year in a row. The point standings in Top Fuel, Dick LaHaye still on top. Darrell moves into 2nd. Gary Ormsby is 3rd. Gene Snow 4th. And Joe Amato number 5. In our opinion, the Goodyear Eagle driver of the race is Kenny Delco. Goodyear will be sending a check for $1,000 in his name to the scholarship fund of the Specialty Equipment Market Association from a very good driver for a very good cause. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Gainesville. The 1990 NHRA Motorcraft Gatornationals has been brought to you by Goodyear Radials, the best-selling performance radials in the world. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. Coverage of the NHRA Gatornationals has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN.